left off with the intermediate texts, and so I'm going to go ahead and start with this series. It's a little bit backwards in my bookcase, but that's okay. This is the JUCO and Manabo series, and they're all part of the same series. This cover is the old cover. There's a new cover now which looks like these two, and it's pink instead of this one with the polka dots. You can get this. It's the same book, it's just in pink now instead of this cover. It has a cover that looks like this. And I believe this is all a series because the authors are the same people. And you'll see I have two books. One's a little bit dirtier than the other because this one I did at my home university, so it got drug everywhere, and this one I did at the university I went to when I lived in Saitama, Japan. And it was really great to get to go over the material, especially as coming in as a foreigner, and just needing the refresher on the material was really nice. This is a really great series. It has everything you need in it in just the one book. Oops, I better get the other one because, yeah, let's use this one. It has the answer booklet, and then an actual book that you do the work in, and then inside the book is a CD for your listening. And it talks about some really interesting topics. Like, you know, instead of getting really obnoxious, you know, topics that you see all the time, like JUCO Shokai, or I'm trying to think of another one that you see an awful lot. You know, like Japanese food, or, you know, just those really typical topics that they tend to cover in textbooks. This one doesn't do that. This one gives you the first chapter. It's all on fast food and the rise of fast food, and each chapter has a little like prompt at the bottom to get you thinking about things. Like this one is like, what kind of food in your country, like what kind of fast food is there in your country, and then like, let's think about fast food. And so this is like your your warm-up, and that's kind of nice. Every chapter has that. And then you'll see I've written all over this book, just taking all kinds of notes. There's a reading section and a comprehension section, and it introduces all the new vocabulary. And then it gives you a page or two sometimes of vocabulary, and this first chapter only has 4 vocabularies, so it was a really easy, fast chapter. And then after that, it's all practice in the book for you. There's some sakubun. As you can see, there's no sakubun written on these books because the teachers had us write and turn them in, and so I didn't want to rip pages out of my book to do that, so I wrote them on separate sheets of paper. There's just all these really great exercises inside this book, and it teaches you a fair amount. And then at the end, you're supposed to go through your listening practices. Again, these were photocopied for us because this stuff would have been handed in, and I don't like to tear up my books if I don't have to. So I was really picky about making sure that the book stayed as intact as it possibly could, even though I have 2 copies of it. Because I need my books to be in nice condition so that I can continue to use them, and 2, I don't like to bring home books that are in bad condition. I have high regard for books. Stop. Second book in the series is JUCO Manabo, or JUCO Manabo, and there's 2 of them in this, and this one teaches you 56, and this one teaches you 82 expressions and stuff. And again, it's the same kind of thing. There's a CD on the inside, and there's some notes from my teachers, and then you get you'll see this is a substantially bigger answer booklet in the back because this one includes all of the vocabulary in this section. It doesn't give you the vocabulary in the book. Well, it does give you a little bit, but it doesn't give you all of it. And so again, this book series has a warm-up exercise, and then your reading and your vocabulary, and then it goes into very similar format as the other book. You're getting into some more complex stuff with this, so you'll see the notes kind of exploded a little bit and the highlighting system got better. And it just follows the exact same format, so that's really cool. It does give you, this one does still kind of hold your hand a little bit with the kanji. It does expect you to know quite a few, but if it does introduce it, it's very good about including the furigana underneath, so that's kind of nice. But that changes in the blue book. The blue book, again, the blue book has, you know, the CD, the answer booklets in the back. The one thing that this one doesn't have, though, is the vocabulary. I had to go online and find the vocabulary sheet for this. There's a web page on the inside that you can use to track down. It also came with this. This is a red piece of plastic. And the red piece of plastic is for this portion. Let me get to it for you real quick. I've got some notes in here that are kind of mucking up my pages. And so it's like for this reading section right here that I've highlighted, there's little red furigana, and if you put the sheet over it, the furigana disappears, so you can really test your knowledge of the material, and then you can take it off to see if you did well. So like, look really close at this one right here. Gone, back. And so I think that's kind of cool. And I'd seen Japanese kids using that kind of sheet with some other study materials, and I never knew what it was, but now I do. And so then we have, so that's that series, and I highly recommend that one if you can get it. This book is a little bit more difficult because I've found that it's not in the grammar dictionaries that I have, so I might have to purchase the advanced grammar dictionary. It's super expensive, so I haven't done that yet. Let's see, what else do we have? We have Doko Demo Doraemon Nihongo. And I was really excited for this because I thought, oh, this is going to be so fun. It's going to be great to, you know, boost me into that intermediate level. And I was so disappointed when I got it because I think this was my very first book where I realized that workbooks no longer were a thing. They were coming mixed in with the actual book. And I did not know that when I purchased it, so I was a little disappointed with that. But I do want to show you some of the really great features of this book. And it's just like so much manga to read because Doraemon is a manga series and got turned into an anime, and I think in America Disney releases it, and they're kind of behind in releasing that, honestly. But this is just kind of, it teaches you some interesting vocabulary. You can see here I've written all over the page, and I've highlighted things like this is going to the airport, and so it's like this is the arrivals and immigration procedures and things like that. And so if you're going to travel to Japan and you're planning to stay there, knowing words like immigration procedures might be really handy for you. If you're not going to do that, if you don't plan or you don't know when you'll ever get to Japan, you probably don't need this. I'd also point out that all of this stuff, immigration procedures, customs, arrivals, the information desk, all of this has English in it in an actual Japanese airport, so you don't necessarily need this information, but it's nice to have. So it's just got a lot of really useless vocabulary if you aren't planning to do things like move to Japan. Chapter 2 is a little bit more practical. It's got the layout of a house and stuff, so it's got vocabulary for that. And it's not completely a useless book, but you know, if I need to look up the word for global warming, which it does teach you, if I need to use that in a sentence, it's an obscure enough word that if I look it up, no one's gonna think twice about that. So I don't like to put my time into words that I'm not going to use in everyday conversation, and so I don't think I need to know the word for customs as it's used at an airport. You know, I need to know how to use the word customs to talk about differences between American customs and Japanese customs, but not necessarily, and it's a different word. So next on the list is Aodora, and this book, I don't know if it's just because I have a crap copy and like it looks like it was just run off of a photocopier, and so it's not very I don't know what I don't like about this book, honestly. I just don't like this book. And I think it's probably the layout is just real sloppy. Well, at least that's my opinion. You get to a page that doesn't, a chapter that doesn't have a whole bunch of writing in it. Whoever owned this book before me wrote in pen in the book, and that's one of my ultimate pet peeves. Whoever had this book, they quit fairly early on. They didn't get halfway through it before they decided that this wasn't worth their time. But this is kind of what the pages look like. This is your intro reading, and it's just kind of, I don't know, everything's small and squished together, and it's kind of hard to make out some of the kanji stroke orders. And then this is the next page, and I just don't think it's a nice layout. It's not appealing as far as like, see, and this is what drives me really crazy, because they've got this box area around this, and instead of like squishing the pictures down a little bit so that they could fit this part on there, they just moved it to the next page, and I just think it looks so sloppy and gross. So I'm not a big fan of this book series. Content wise, I mean, content's not bad. The content isn't bad. It's just really hard to stick with it when you don't care. And one thing that's kind of interesting is it does have these let's try writing, and the topics are like, this one's on weddings, and so that's kind of cool. So I do like that about the series, and when I sit down and give it a more thorough go through and actually start working out the chapters. It does have transcripts at the back too, but you know, there's no CD, there's no answer keys, there's nothing here. So overall, I think this is a bust, but that's my opinion. Somebody probably likes it, and that's fine. Next they have is Introduction to Intermediate Japanese, and this is kind of that like in-between phase where you're not quite too intermediate, but you're not quite first level anymore. And this is super old. I got this at the book fair that I was telling you about in the last video, and I kind of like it because it does have English translation of the readings. And let me go to one that I don't remember if I wrote in this. Some pencil marks, so yeah, it looks like I probably did. Alright, so let's go here. So this is Jotaku, which is like houses and homes, and so this is the main text, and then it's got these dialogues, but it didn't include a CD, and there's no place for the CD in here, so not really sure what happened with that. It's kind of oh, I guess it used to have tapes, so you could purchase the tapes, and this book's kind of falling apart on me. You can see the pages, the leaves are coming out, and I'm so hesitant to use it because of that. So I can't give you a unbiased opinion on it because I don't have an opinion on it. I did use it for one chapter, and I did like what I got out of that chapter because it does explain everything to you in English if you need it. So like Tega deki nai, it tells you that, it gives you an example of it, and it says the te indicates a reason, and then deki nai, you can't do it, so this is a reason why you can't do something. So for example, we are too busy to prepare for New Year's, so too busy, it would be the reason why, and then to prepare for is what you can't do, so you can't go to whatever you're gonna do. So that was kind of nice. Like the grammar points in that are useful. If you can find a copy that isn't falling apart like mine is, I'm gonna have to rebind it. Then if you're not quite ready to move, you're not quite sure how you feel about moving into books that don't have any English, that might be a really good book to go to. Next book is this is the volumes 1 and 2, I believe. These are the for pre-advanced and advanced learners of Japanese. I used to do speech competitions, and there was a school that we competed against every year, and it kicked my butt every single year. And so I was going to implement the same study regimen that they had, and so a lot of times you can go online, you can find syllabuses, and you can work off the syllabus on your own. And this was these two books were two of the books I used at the advanced level, and they also used this Tobira, which I'll get to here in a second. And so this was their kind of pre-advanced material. And this is a little early in the video, but we're going to go with it anyways. And so I bought these with the intention of working through them, and I haven't had an opportunity to yet. It just, timing hasn't been right to actually open these suckers up. But I did, when I purchased them, I did go ahead and look inside, and there's absolutely no English anywhere in the book. Well, that's a lie. There is, it does give you the vocabulary. It does translate the vocabulary for you, so that's kind of helpful. But this book does not have a little pull-out booklet for the grammars or anything like that, and it's a lot of reading. It's very reading heavy. I'll show you that. So there's a lot of reading going on here, so you have to know a lot of kanji, a lot of sentence structure already. And so I'm kind of excited to get started on that, but I'm not quite ready to go there. So I'm holding on to that for me when I'm finished with working through the intermediate books that I'm working through myself. Then there's this, let me just, every time I get to this part, I get flustered. I plug Genki. I really like the Genki books. And I think that they really failed us with what people call the third Genki book, because it's nothing like Genki. So I don't know why people refer to it that way, except for the fact that the same company that produced the Genki books, the Japan Times, also produced this book and the advanced book right here, which we'll get to in a minute. And I do not really, when you compare this book to the Genki books, this is a complete letdown. However, if you can move past that bias, and it was hard for me to do, this is actually a really decent book. It teaches you speaking, vocabulary, reading, and writing, and some listening too. So it's got a CD at the beginning of it, just like all my other books that I've shown you so far, except for a couple of them do. And then it's got this, the setup of this is kind of nice. It has some culture notes at the beginning of each chapter, and then it has some kanji review. In this case, there's 102 kanji to review, and if you really worked on your kanji in the Genki series, you can apply it here. There's some new stuff. Then it has a couple of kaiwas, and in the kaiwas it underlines where it uses the grammars, so that's kind of nice. Then it introduces you with some reading material and the new vocabulary, and sometimes they mix the vocabulary in with the as a grammar point. So for example, verb ta bakari, which means to have just done something, it will throw that in as a vocabulary word when it's actually a grammar. So that's kind of helpful. Then it introduces some new kanji at the end of all of that before it goes into the bunpo note. And the bunpo notes are really helpful because it gives you a couple of example sentences, how to use it, and then it tells you what it does. So I really like that. The one nitpick I do have, particularly with this, I believe it's in chapter 1, is it introduces you to verb ta bakari, and then it tells you that it means that it's like you've just done something. But then the grammar point 6 is verb play form. Koto ni natteiru is like, oh, I apologize. It's actually verb plain tokoro, means that it means you're about to do something instead of having just done something. But then it gives you these examples up here, so it's like taberu tokoro desu, which is about to, tabeta tokoro desu, which is just having finished, which is the same meaning as bakari, but you have to, they're different depending on the immediacy of having just finished something. And then there's tabete iru tokoro desu. They didn't explain that part. They didn't explain that this is more immediate than bakari. And so this caused me some trouble when I was studying through it. And that happens a lot in this book. Some of the more like little detailed things, like the nuance changes in this. So not a bad book series, but if you're looking for a similar format to Genki, you might want to go with the Mina no Nihongo book. It does come with a workbook, but I think the workbook also fails us because it doesn't give you enough practice for each point. And I think that they could have done better, but it is what it is. So, and it's not bad. But that said, I do like the Mina no Nihongo book series for intermediate better. Similar format, same characters that you're used to with the original Mina no Nihongo. It does have its CDs. It does have some of these are this is the transcript from inside the book. But again, with this one, you have to have the translation notes for the language that you speak natively, and then the Mondai book. Again, workbooks, everything. There are 2 volumes, so this totals like 5 books just for this one volume, for this one series. And there is no Mondai book for this. I don't know why. Don't ask me. Can't answer that. So there's that, and I am going to do an intermediate book video where I talk about these in a little bit more detail. Just trying to give you an idea of what we've got up here. And then let's go ahead and talk about this book. This is Authentic Japanese, Progressing from Intermediate to Advanced. I just got this week. I haven't done anything with it yet, and I'm waiting on the workbook, and then I'm going to work through this book. I'm going to do all of the Genki series, and then I'm going to sit down and redo all of the Mina series, and because Mina doesn't have an advanced book yet. So I'm going to see kind of where this goes. It looks really promising. I'm quite excited to try it. Let me just show you this, for example. They're teaching you how to read ads in Japanese, so you could purchase, you know, whatever out of the magazine. So I'm really excited about that. Haven't got to it yet. And then let's talk about Tobira. When I did Tobira, and this will be the last book we cover for this video, but when I did Tobira, there were only these 2 books. And then a year later, the Grammar Power book came out. And so this is just your grammar, like your workbook, which I tell everybody to get the workbook because I think you should have it. And you can see there's a lot of work done in it. But Tobira expects you to know all of the kanji out of the Genki books, plus a couple others, or all of the kanji out of the Mina no Nihongo books. And if you do Mina no Nihongo, then you're good as far as kanji goes if you study the kanji. And then you can pick up the Kanji Power book, which teaches you 800 more kanji. And this is nice, but it is a supplement, so you do need to do this with the Tobira series. As I wouldn't purchase this as an independent kanji book. We can talk about kanji later. But it's not a bad book. It's kind of nice. The Tobira, Gateway to Advanced Japanese, is really nice. I have the old edition, so this URL down here doesn't work anymore, so you have to find if you just type in Tobira into Google, you can find it. And so I'll just go ahead and open this one up for you and show you a couple of. So it gives you these really. It starts out each chapter kind of like the JUCO Shokai book series does, with a warm-up, and the warm-ups are kind of fun. Again, I writing in books struggle with it sometimes. And so you'll see here that I filled in all of this, and then this was something that the teacher gave us to do on the side that I didn't want to rip my book apart for. And then it has a nice reading, and the readings are really cool. Like, this is Japanese geography, and so you get to read all about the geography of Japan, and then it introduces new words, and it has some kaiwa practice so that you can see how the different grammars are going to be used. And then these are neat. It's got some of these like little ihon type things. You can go to the URL and read about it. So it's very multimedia heavy. It introduces just a ton of vocabulary and kanji. Oh my goodness, this was a kanji overload for us. It does have some questions in the book, and you can go print off more questions from the website, and that was before this existed, so now there should be ample study material for you since that was released. And it's a neat little book, but it has too much grammar per chapter, and the grammars are all really difficult. I think this one, just for the first chapter alone, has 16 grammar points, and then it has 60 some odd kanji that you have to learn, which is just, I think it's ridiculous. And then it does have some other notes available to you. This is Aizuchi notes. And so that's kind of neat. And it does have some manga in it, and a lot of the stuff you do need to go online and do. So if you have, most people do have internet access when you're watching this. So this might be a good book for you. After you finish Genki, the local university uses this as their intermediate book. I think it's too complex to be an intermediate book, personally. But if you're ambitious, this is a great book, and I don't have anything bad to say about it really, except that there's just a lot of information covered in each chapter. So, all right, that covers my intermediate books, and then we're gonna start getting into some JLPT stuff over here, and then we'll go through the kanji and go through some of the other material I have in this bookcase. Thanks for watching.